I'm the golden goose. They wonder how I got this way, cause I'm the chosen few. They talking down on what I made, but they don't know the truth. It's quite ironic how these chickens coming home to roost. Yeah, I'm the golden goose. Whoa, ayy, golden goose like Veruca Salt. Me, myself, that's who's involved. Don't trip out with the coupe or cost. I'll make a new hit to recoup the cost. Whoa, yeah, I make it look easy. Simple, hard work, still I'm just cheesing. Dimple, setting that bar, can't reach it. Limbo, slice right through it, I mean like two songs, same time, do it all akimbo. Thick skin, go ahead, try, won't ISO. 2 feet jumped into this, I'm 10 toes. Distro, kid check, I cannot disclose. Money keep coming in quick by the fistful. World on the axis, you know I spend.
Right, so just gonna
And you just add our poke interactor.
Just use the pickup line.
And
The pickup line, the one about tying your shoes? You genius. Let me tie your shoes, cause I don't want you falling for somebody new. That's it. Yeah, and with all I knew, I thought love started with an L, but it started with a U.
yeah, actually, shockingly, that's all you need to do for this one. So the interesting thing about the poke interactor is the fact that it doesn't use anything like a box collider as a trigger like all our other reactors used to use, or still use. See, this one uses a sphere collider.
Yeah, and I'm moonwalking. I ain't seen a thing stranger, this the new Hawkins. Oh, but who talking? Oh, that's you talking.
And set to is trigger, and so you can kind of see the range in which you'll interact with things when you're using the direct interactor. But with the poke interactor, it just works out of the box, just with this script. Some of the attributes I want to point out to you, we have the interaction layer mask, of course. We also have the interaction manager, which will automatically be filled when the scene starts up. We have an attach transform, which is very important for this one. So it will generate its own if we don't assign it one, but we want to assign it because otherwise it will be just kind of generating from where it is, which is kind of at the 0, 0 spot. And we kind of want it to be on something like an index finger, so we can change that in the future. So instead of having a sphere collider or anything, it actually uses all of these attributes right here to determine if a poke is happening, and can change its depth in which it would consider a poke is happening, its width. It has different things for both hover and select. And so it's a very unique interaction you have with objects, in which the hover is the first thing that will trigger when you touch an object, and then the select will happen when you're halfway through. And I'll show you that in a moment. And I would honestly say the biggest and most important ones in this component are the require poke filter and the enable UI interaction. So this poke filter or a poke interactor can actually interact with UI objects. I will say out of everything, felt the most right for this specific use case. Now, the first thing I want to do is make sure that this is using the right attach transform. So in order to do that, we kind of are in a pickle. So if you'll remember, the XR controller generates our hand, and then this needs the index finger of our hand. And luckily, if I type in left, you'll find the left hand prefab. This is actually already divided up into a bunch of different sections, and you'll see this is expanded out, the index finger, and at the very tip, we already have a spot that we'd want to use. And so when it animates, it will move with the finger as well. So we want to use this and then somehow attach it to our poke interactor. Sadly, I couldn't think of anything else to do, so I made a script. And this is the script I made right here. It's called set poke to finger attach point. Now, there is nothing crazy going on in here. I keep it very simple. We have a transform that we need to fill in the Unity editor. This is going to be where we determine to attach for our poke interactor. And then we need the XR poke interactor on our object, or our parent object. And so what happens when the hand gets generated, it actually has two parents, and then you can get the component in the children, which is going to be the XR poke interactor. And so if I minimize this, let me explain what's going on here. All right, we are looking for the poke interactor here, correct? And so when the hand is generated, if I press the play button, you'll see that this is where our script is, and so this is its parent, and we have to go to one parent above that, and then it'll go down to the child object and grab this poke interactor. And then we can assign it, and you can see it's actually working. So let me get back to the script, keep explaining it. So yeah, that's all this code does. It will go into the parent of the parent, grab the X and grab this poke interactor. Else to do, so I made a script, and this is the script I made right here. It's called set poke to finger attach point. Now there is nothing crazy going on in here. I keep it very
Wonder how I got this way, 'cause I'm the chosen few. They talking down on what I made, but they don't know the truth. It's quite ironic how these chickens coming home to roost. Yeah, I'm the golden goose. Whoa, ayy, golden goose like Veruca Salt. Me, myself, that's who's involved. Don't trip out with the Cooper cost. I'll make a new hit to recoup the cost. Whoa, yeah, I make it look easy. Simple. Hard work, still I'm just cheesing. Dimple. Setting that bar, can't reach it. Limbo. Slice right through it, I mean like two songs, same time, do it all akimbo. Thick skin, go ahead, try, won't insult. 2 feet jumped into this, I'm 10 toes. Distro, kid check, I cannot disclose. Money keep coming in quick by the fistful. World on the axis, you know I spin globe. Mr. Worldwide, yeah, I'm feeling like Pitbull. Who the heck him know? I'm the golden goose. Let's go. They wonder how I got this way, 'cause I'm the chosen few. They talking down on what I made, but they don't know the truth. It's quite ironic how these chickens coming home to roost. Yeah, I'm the golden goose. I am. Ay, golden plaques in my closet, haven't hung them up, I'm busy. Either I'm just making songs up with my son and watching Mickey. Funny how the things I dreamed of getting now just don't impress me. Used to care about what you would think, but now I don't. Okay, I'm back. I got one of each like I know it's art. Little man got a fleet like Bonaparte. Money kinda go like I'm rolling R's. Heated up, feel it in my chest like Tony Stark. Go ahead, criticize, giving no regards. French kissing and goodbye like an au revoir. Keep it sharp in my circle like I'm throwing darts. Yeah, I'm going far. Why? I'm the golden goose. That's why. They wonder how I got this way, 'cause I'm the chosen few. They talking down on what I made, but they don't know the truth. It's quite ironic how these chickens coming home to roost. Yeah, I'm the golden goose. I am. Ay, I'm the golden goose. I'm the goose. I'm the golden. I'm the golden goose. I'm the goose. I'm the golden. I'm the golden golden. I'm the golden goose. Yeah, thinking that it happened overnight, it didn't. In it for the long haul flight, committed. Wanted me to fail out of spite, I didn't. All bark but they don't bite, they timid. Thinking that it happened overnight, but it didn't. In it for the long haul flight, I'm committed. Wanted me to fail out of spite, but I didn't. All bark but they don't bite, 'cause they timid. Look, wait. I got people trying to wish and pray that I'ma fall about it. All about it till we spoke in person, don't wanna talk about it now, huh? Oh, you sound tough, toying with them, don't get wound up. How you wound up, another number in the round up. Put the town up, I built this thing up from the ground up. And if I bounce up, I get my crown stuck. Green light go, got the east side flow. I'm a giant in the space like FIFA4. All the kids sing along like EIO. Every time when they see my show, thinking that it happened overnight, yeah, it didn't. In it for the long haul flight, committed. Wanted me to fail out of spite, I didn't. All bark but they don't bite, they timid. Thinking that it happened overnight, but it didn't. In it for the long haul flight, I'm committed. Wanted me to fail out of spite, but I didn't. All bark but they don't bite, 'cause they timid. Look,
Esto es talento y favor and you got no skill. I got drive, baby, ustedes son roadkill. Yeah, ya te dije, no están en mi carta perder. De pequeño estoy ungido, baby, y ese es mi flex. No me dieron nada por lo mío, José.
very simple. We have a transform that we need to fill in the Unity editor. This is going to be where we determine to actor. And so if I minimize this, let me explain what's going on here. All right, we are looking for the poke interactor here, correct? And so when the hand is generated, if I press the play button, you'll see that this is where our script is, and so this is its parent, and we have to go to one parent above that, and then it'll go down to the child object and grab this poke interactor. And then we can assign it, and you can see it's actually working. So let me get back to the script. Keep explaining it. So yeah, that's all this code does. It will go into the parent of the parent, grab the XR poke interactor, and then it will call set poke attach point. And in here, it'll just make sure both those things aren't set to null, and then it assigns it. That's really it. If you would just like to download this code and not have to type it out yourself, you can find it on my Patreon. I would love your support. But let's get back to the...
Or you could just get snipping
I don't really rap, I just talk in the rhymes. Look real cool, but I'm awkward inside. I don't really dance, just walk with a stride. Don't go out, so I'm off to the side. WYD, girl, I'm chillin'. Where can you find me? Mind your business. Preheat the oven, give you some loving. Can't be long, girl, don't burn the biscuits. This ain't a game, it's a passion. I keep it frozen, I'm lasting. Cold as Alaskan. I got no else in my name, ain't no Samuel Jackson. I'm in a whole different bracket. So who the ones going crazy? We the ones. Who the ones never breaking? We the ones. Who the ones never stop till it's done? Gonna rock till the sunrise blazing. We the ones. You've been on my mind a couple days now. That's a problem. Looking good in every type of way now. Top to bottom. Wait a sec. I ain't even break a sweat. Told them I'm the greatest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but how
Why
did they
they
get it?
gotta take offense? Oh shit. Yeah. Got me feeling like John Wick. Gon' pop when I drop this. Yeah. Tryna stay
the
somewhere
poke
on
interactor.
spit.
So just for good practice, I'm going to quickly do the same thing for the right hand controller. So I'm going to come up here. All right, and then I just need to make sure I make it a poke interactor. That's good there. And then I just need to make sure I go into the right hand prefab.
So,
Sag til min bror, go get it, for det er kun os, der kan med det os selv. Ud i kulden, vi gik så længe. Simpelt, det er jo os, der spiller på en time. Giver dig bangers, der vil, så hvis du show up, så sørger jeg for show love fra et lille værelse. Lad os se, hvor vi når op.
And then I need to...
Hun får mere nok, ikke til min gud for givet. Sikker på, min dance moves, de topper. Og sikker på, den lille tegning er flopper. Og sikker på, at Shelly, hun gerne vil gå. Det er derfor, hun ved min side, det er derfor, hun ikke stopper. International er blot der pind. Invester mit brød, og så forsvind. Læg en plan og følg den også og vind. Hvis der snakker om rally, så cash in. Cash in, som min bror sagde det.
Make sure it has the same script.
Like a savage, og det er lige her, det går bare.
Yeah, got me feeling like John Wick. Gon' pop when I drop this. Yeah, tryna stay somewhere mosh pit. Whoa, let it go, let it go. They call me Simon 'cause they do what I'm saying. Slide it left, slide it right. I
Give it
hit
the right
groove on
attach
occasion.
point, which is going to be this middle finger. Oh, not middle finger. What am I talking about? Index finger. And
index, no. Yeah.
that should work. Now,
Yeah. When I leave, put my stats on my tombstone. So they know that when I'm gone, I'm still that dude though. Ayy, talking smack, who is that? I said, who knows? Heard you set the bar, well, that's a new low. Run up the numbers, showing them how I've been doing it. I do not gatekeep. Oh, it'll come up, blowing up first like blue shell. Shout out K-Key. All in abundance, stacking up all of the accolades now, and it's waist deep. I'm wearing a lot of these hats and everything hitting. I feel like I'm Take Keith. Show them how it's done. They can do this if they want it, but they don't. Words don't match their actions like the internet was slow. Ay, told them I'm the one, but they ain't listen yet. I know how you never get the message, but you always on your. When I leave, put my stats on my tombstone. So they know that when I'm gone, I'm still that dude though. Ay, talking smack, who is that? I said, who knows? Heard you set the bar, well, that's a new low.
They keep on talking, no end of discussion. Just look at the cash, it's really abundant. We kill the instrument with no precaution, it's nothing but facts. I keep it 100. Me and Connor had a conversation, that's Canadian NGN. So all my haters, I wish you the best. They praying for me, but the truth is talking about the next thing. Yeah, they really act like they up to some. Everybody capping, acting like they really know the struggle of. I remember back when it used to be the last man to buckle up. Now I'm bringing a lot of cash in, making these bags really double up. But no offense, trust in the process. I'm about to be so blessed. They keep hitting.
and then I just need to make sure I go into the right hand prefab, and then I need to make sure it has the same script. Give it the right attach point, which is going to be this middle finger. Oh, not middle finger. What am I talking about? Index finger. And that should work. Now, just so I don't have giant rays shooting everywhere, I'm going to go ahead and turn these off. And then we now have two things that can poke and interact with things, but we have nothing to poke. But that's why I have this guy right here. So what this is just a simple cube, and I have it called Poke Interactable, but it doesn't have anything on it to make it a Poke Interactable.
Yeah, look, you know I'm coming correct. Go time, no rest. Only trust two things now, myself and the process. You know I'm coming correct. Whole time, no less. Sleeping on me, I ain't worried. They waking up cold sweats. Yeah, I'm moving quicker than Sonic. Knuckles are bruised, wearing these rings, I'm paying the price. Sampling this, kind of ironic, cause I made a bag of using my pipes. Yeah, go ahead and bet on it. Don't know why I gotta break, never stepped on it. Make the whole world shake when I get on this. Got a lot on my plate and it's tectonic. Boom, boom, boom. Wake up whenever, do what I wanna. Still up at 6, you know I want it. Dry clean the fit, I don't ruin the product. Lying the kid, Hakuna Matata. Wanted my number, I said I'm the one. Don't ever fumble, I'm still on the run. Vision is tunnel, I'm getting it done. Finishing touch, you know I'm coming correct. Go time, no rest. Only trust two things now, myself and the process. You know I'm coming correct. Whole time, no less. Sleeping on me, I ain't worried. They waking up cold sweats. I won't even make the mistakes, I'm perfect. Killing them, taking it back. But that doesn't matter, I pick myself up, but we back on the track. Yeah, you know I've been on the move. So bit if I'm leaving them soup. Yeah, I've been working the paper, I'm seeing you latest with they going down. Just think I'm a fuck it, I stay on the couch. My money ain't ghost, you run for the back, you be running your mouth. I be like that at school, for telling your niggas, you read or you read. I ain't trying to be like that, that's why I don't trust, I'll be forming a pack. Just me and myself, kinda Cody and Zach, we be running them back, cause we did it before, yeah, that's Connor and me, but we spin on the track. You know I'm coming correct. Go time, no rest. Only trust two things now, myself and the process. You know I'm coming correct. Whole time, no less. Sleeping on me, I ain't worried. They waking up cold sweats. Me and my buddy, we making all of this money. Yeah, I know it's rude to be bragging. They never catching us lacking. Me and my buddy, we working hard for this money. Whoa, you know I've been in my bag, yeah. Buddy, I got it like that, yeah. Y'all better stop. Me and my boy gon' climb to the top. Sidekick game like Calvin and Hobbes, Batman and Rob. Y'all know me, I'm down for the cause.
Y'all know us, we start the party. Go way back like Doc and Marty. Either die legend like John Lennon or end up solo like Paul McCartney. Let's go.
W's only, there's obvious signs.
Looking around me, it's hard to deny.
I mean, just look at the audience size.
Well, robbing you blind like Bonnie and Clyde.
Y'all do too much just to fit in.
Zach and Cody, we stay twinning.
Sweet life only, we stay winning.
Been this way since the beginning.
Me and my buddy, we making all of this money. Yeah, I know it's rude to be bragging. They never catching us lacking. Me and my buddy, we working hard for this money. Whoa, you know I've been in my bag, yeah. Buddy, I got it like that.
Yo, my greatest idols are all-time rivals. I'm talking Biggie and Pac.
Yeah, every room that I walk into, it's like all I hear is applause.
Hey, I don't need to just roll solo. I got a buddy like Han Solo. I'm in the money, I rock polo.
I never bomb sets, I just bomb photos. Like boom, lights, camera, action. Do it, big boy, I'm talking Miss Jackson.
Right, bury those beats, yeah, I'm feeling like Braxton. Good Jewish boy, cause I always pay taxes.
I've been on a mission, got a blast.
Feel like Jimmy Neutron with the raps.
Why you always living in the past?
Let me give you something that'll last.
Me and my buddy, we making all of this money. Yeah, I know it's rude to be bragging. They never catching us lacking. Me and my buddy, we working hard for this money. Whoa, you know I've been in my bag, yeah. Buddy, I got it like that. Me and my buddy, yeah, we never need an understudy. Did it independent, we don't ever need nobody's money. Everybody calling me, they said they wanted something from me. Put me on a song, all of a sudden they be running from me.
Running from me like you playing good cop, bad cop. Crowd going crazy like it's Woodstock, can't stop. Every show I'm playing be like new girl, pants drop. Working way too hard, you're never gonna see the man flow.
I don't know how to hype to go. Like,
It's a party, you invited, baby, let's go. Looking like Sabrina, so I gave her that espresso. Please, please, please look at me, I got potential. I always stay on beat, I don't need no instrumental.
Didn't finish college, but my resume's impressive. The dough I got unlimited like Olive Garden breadsticks. And you the only 10 I see, you must live out in Memphis. I'm throwing perfect pitches.
So I'm gonna fix that. Now, the easiest way to demonstrate what a poke interactable can do is by making a simple interactable. So what a simple interactable
die on me, wrote letters in her diary. We'll be together for forever. She be like, don't die on me. Girl, I'm in the driver's seat. Hop inside my time machine. I wanna relive how it felt when you first laid your eyes on me. Nah, this ain't Monopoly, but I'll still buy you property and take you on a shopping spree. It really ain't a lot to me. Girl, I had to just flex. I won't bounce like my checks. My phone is on do not disturb, but I'll respond to your text. And I can play the guitar, so you don't gotta fret. I'll treat you like that MTV show, girl. You know that you next. Yeah.
does is it just determines if something is interacting with it, and then we can change up some things like do interactable events. Also, to make it a poke interactable, if you remember on these, if you remember on these poke interactors, right here it says require poke filter. Since I'm going to leave that to true, it's not going to react unless it has a poke filter. So let's add one. XR poke filter. And then there it is. This is the poke filter, and poke filters are actually kind of interesting. What they do is they determine how we are going to interact with this cube here. So right now it is set to Z, but I'm going to set it to -Y. So what this means
-1
is once our finger is going downward relative to the cube itself in a negative, from a positive to negative position, that will allow us to go from hover and then select with the poke interactable. Same thing is if I set it to Y, that would just mean if I was using the finger to go up through the cube, then it would go to hover and then be select. And so to demonstrate this, I'm actually going to add some things for the simple interactable. I'm going to change these events, and I'm going to have it change the color of this, and it's going to go from green for when nothing's interacting with it to blue when it's hovering, and then finally yellow when it's being selected by the poke interactor. I'm just going to speed through that right now. Yeah, again, all I've done here is when it goes hover entered, it will turn it blue. When it goes and hover exit, it will change it back to green. When it goes select entered, it will change it to yellow, and again, change it back to green once it exits. And that's it. So let's start up the scene and see what's going on. We can see that when I put the finger through, it turns blue, and about halfway through, it turns yellow, meaning it's selected. If I go from the bottom, it doesn't work, or the right, or the left, only -Y. And again, it selects when it's about into the center of the object. So, yeah, that's how it works. Now, besides poking interactable objects, the other very useful thing it can do is work with UI. And you'll see I've already created one here. I'm just going to activate it, and there's nothing crazy. All right, it's just a simple UI, and it has a slider on it and a button. Besides that, I haven't changed anything else. And so, right out of the box, it can just work with this UI. So let me start up the scene and show you again. You see, I can slide this left and right using my finger, which is very cool, and then if I click the button, it clicks. And I will say, out of everything, this felt like the right way to use the poke interactor. Using it on objects and not having any physics interactions with it was just a bit weird to me. So right now, I think this poke interactor actually works best when it's working with UI. And in terms of interacting with objects or creating buttons, I just don't know if it's the right tool for that. I know Valem made a button with it, and his works very well. I mean, everything he does is amazing. But for myself, I want it to be more of a physics interaction. So I'm going to be coming out with another button video in the future in which I fix all the broken things that I had in my previous one. My dearest Patreon subscribers, I can...
to my brain, I ain't thinking much. Had it going good right at the start. That's beginner's luck. You deserve the world, and babe, I promise I ain't giving up. I ain't giving up.
I might just lose my head. I can't get out of bed, 'cause all I'm dreaming about is all the time we spend.
Let's get moving using the XR XR Interaction Toolkit and Continuous Movement. A few things have changed from the previous tutorial, so you should definitely pay attention to this. Booting back into the scene, you'll see nothing's really changed here, but there's a few things I want to go over and change from the previous tutorial. The first thing I'll mention is I did turn off hand tracking on my Oculus Quest. I noticed it was draining my battery a lot, so if you're not using that for your game, I would advise you do the same. And since I've turned that off, for my XR Origin, I'm also just going to turn off the XR hands that we did in the previous tutorial. The last thing I'm going to change is I'm going to go over to my controllers here, and if you remember from the previous tutorial, I changed this to the controller. Instead, I wanted to go back to our left and right hand that we had before, and you'll see we have two same named ones here, but one's just going to be a model, the other one is going to have the animator and all the controllers, and that's the one we want. So I'm going to select this, I'm going to select the one that had all the animations and controllers, and then do the same for the right. And now we're ready to get moving. The first thing we'll need is a locomotion system, and this is what's going to be responsible for coordinating between our locomotion or moving our XR Origin and all.
I miss driving in the HOV, just you and me, no hurry. I miss dinners that we wouldn't eat, cause it wasn't cheap, no worries. I miss all the little things that we did but didn't notice. You never know a good thing until it's gone. I miss driving in a HOV, now life moves somewhat slowly. Yeah, thinking back on the day when we packed the Jetta, drove to the unknown, we don't know no better. You and me against the world, it's a new vendetta. Was the only thing sane to do. Type of mood swings that could change the weather. Hot, cold, sweating through my sweater. Back and forth, hot tie gets severed. Was the only way to cut you loose. No U-turns, my fault that I put you first. Broken heart, you took 2/3. Guess that makes me the loser. Yeah, mileage, brand new speakers driving. Still I sit in silence, thinking about you. I miss driving in the HOV, just you and me, no hurry. I miss dinners that we wouldn't eat, cause it wasn't cheap, no worries. I miss all the little things. I'm the golden goose. They wonder how I got this way, cause I'm the chosen few. They talking down on what I made, but they don't know the truth. It's quite ironic how these chickens coming home to roost. Yeah, I'm the golden goose. Whoa, ayy, golden goose like Veruca Soul. Me, myself, that's who's involved. Don't trip out with the couple cost. I'll make a new hit to recoup the cost. Whoa, yeah, I make it look easy. Simple, hard work, still I'm just cheesing. Dimple, setting that bar, can't reach it. Limbo, slice right through it, I mean like two songs, same time, do it all akimbo. Thick skin, go ahead, try, won't insult. 2 feet jumped into this, I'm 10 toes. This stroke, kid check, I cannot disclose. Money keep coming in quick by the fistful. World on the axis, you know I spin globe. Mr. Worldwide, yeah, I'm feeling like Pitbull. Who the heck him know? I'm the golden goose. They wonder how I got this way, cause I'm the chosen few. They talking down on what I made, but they don't know the truth. It's quite ironic how these chickens coming home to roost. Yeah, I'm the golden goose. Ay, golden plaques in my closet, haven't hung them up, I'm busy. Either I'm just making songs up with my son and watching Mickey. Funny how the things I dreamed of getting now just don't impress me. Used to care about what you would think, but now I don't. Okay, I'm back. I got one of each like I know it's art. Little man got a fleet
All
like on
the
a art.
move providers, and that's how they've structured this. So to do that, I'm going to go to this, I'm going to add an empty child, I'm going to name it Locomotion System.
In my circle like I'm throwing darts. Yeah, I'm going far. Why? I'm the golden goose. That's why. They wonder how I got this way, cause I'm the chosen few. They talking down on what I made, but they don't know the truth. It's quite ironic how these chickens coming home to roost. Yeah, I'm the golden goose. Ay, I'm the golden goose. I'm the goose. I'm the golden. I'm the golden goose. I'm the goose.
With that in place, I'm going to add component, Locomotion System.
Loco.
And then it's asking for the the XR origin. As simple as that. There we go. Now, we can't move with just that. We need providers. So as I said before, this
You said you don't.
coordinates with move providers, and then this determines what has control over the XR origin. So the first thing we'll want to add is a continuous move provider. To add that, I'm just going to right click this, create empty, and I'm going to name this move. And then
And with all I knew, I thought love started with an L, but it started with a you. When I saw you coming through, swear to God I couldn't help it. There was nothing I could do. It's not a fluke. Nah, maybe we could take it to the roof. Got a view, and it's good, but it's not as good as you. That's the truth. Look, maybe we could talk in the back. Ain't got a room. Maybe I could rub on your back. Yeah, masseuse. Maybe we could run through the cash. That's what I do. Appreciate you having my back. That's what I do. Yeah, and I'm moonwalking. I ain't seen a thing stranger. This the new Hawkins. Oh, but who talking? Oh, that's you talking. Well, what you trying to do, baby? We got two options. I don't mean to stare, but I'm still gonna stare. But you look good.
I'm going to look up continuous move provider.
It's too unfair. Usually bite my tongue, but I just don't care. Dance, grab it, walk, move, dance, grab it.
When you're looking for the action days, now you'll
Walk, move, dance, grab it.
see here we have some fun things to fill out. So first,
You were one-on-one, you the first edition.
the locomotion system. I'll drag that here. Next, we can enable strafe, so that is being able to move left and right diagonally, but also forward. We can enable fly, which is actually pretty cool. You can just kind of look around and fly around. Use gravity is there. And then it has two modes for gravity application. So it's either attempting to move, so say you were climbing a ladder and let go, until you move, you won't apply gravity. So I find immediately to be more realistic. The forward source, this is going to determine what is our forward source, how it says, oh, you're going to move forward in this direction when you press the thumbstick. And so I find the main camera to make the most sense for that. Next,
Also just this.
we have our left-hand move action.
Whoa.
And right-hand move action. So you want to, in my opinion, pick one or the other. You don't necessarily want both your thumbsticks to be able to move you. And I find that the left hand seems to have become the default when it comes to VR games. And so to do that, we're just going to look up move, left hand, locomotion. Now again, you could do this for the right hand. You would just add this here if you wanted to be right hand based.
Can't stop, lot of stakes rise, I keep winning. Blindfolded, find a way, wave high.
There we go, and we can select that there. Previously, let me open this up really quick. You'll see here for our locomotions and inputs, they actually used to not have anything for the right hand. They just assumed that you would use it for the left hand, but now they filled it out. So you don't have to stress about that anymore, which is nice. Again, I said I don't really like the right hand as the move for the continuous move provider, so I'm just going to mark this off. And if we boot it up the scene, you can see I can move with my left hand, and based on where I'm looking and pressing forward, it moves in that direction. So there you go. Now, I will say, at this stage, the gravity will not work. If I walked off the cliff, it didn't work because we do need a character controller. And I'm going to add that a little later towards the end of the video, but for now, I want to continue on and talk about the dynamic move provider. So the dynamic move provider is just a different form of continuous move provider, and how it works is you could actually do some
Thought that I signed a deal. Did that with no manager, let alone a label. I'm behind the wheel. I got one hand up on the steering wheel, other hand up on the rear view. Cause on one hand I need tunnel vision,
interesting
other hand I
things
need
with
a clear
this.
view.
Essentially what this bad boy does is it allows you to determine what you want as a preference for each hand. You'll see down here it has a left hand move direction and a right hand move direction. And
With an interface and a MacBook I let loose.
so we could have one be set to the head relative, so like the continuous move provider, but then we can have the other one be hand relative, so based on the right hand's orientation, that's what forward would be. I mean, it's interesting. I don't know what you would use it for, but here it is, and this is how you set it up. So again, a locomotion system, you could put it here. Forward source, we want it to be the main camera, and then you would add your references.
So I double defeat. Close to my goal like a puck in the crease. Ownership, baby, no nothing is lease. Talk all you want, it means nothing to me. They throwing me shade, I'm loving the breeze. Ooh, you on the way out, I'm on the way in. I'm at the fight, you at the weigh-in. All of my family really gon' make it as word of the weigh-ins. Mission complete, I don't fold till I get it. Patient with time and I know when I'm ready. Still got a way to go hold the confetti. You know what they say about slow and steady. But dad said don't hold back, go get that, don't hesitate. Mom said just step back and slow it down, go meditate. Told myself stay humble, don't say it all with your chest out. But my girl keeps on telling me that I'm the best out.
A locomotion system, you could put it here. Forward source, we want it to be the main camera, and
Off.
then you would add your references. Head transform, again, would be the main camera, and then you want the left and right controller. And let's see, yeah, I'll have the left hand
Throw me to the curb like loose trash. Let me in the past like who is that?
Who's that?
Wish you would've told me that you felt
be
this way.
the head relative, and then I'll have the right hand be hand relative. And let's boot up and see what we got. And one thing I should do before I boot it up is just make sure I turn this off so it's not fighting between the two scripts. But right, let me start it up. Now you can see that when I start to move with my left thumbstick, I move in the direction of my headset, but when I use my right thumbstick and press forward, it moves in the direction of where my right hand's pointed. And yeah, that's how that works. Now, my personal preference is just to use the continuous move provider, so I'm going to go ahead and deactivate the dynamic.
Right out of the blue like news flash. Thought I had control, but you crashed. Left me in the past like who is that?
No, seriously, who is that?
Splat hit the ground, but I'll bounce right back.
Move provider, and I'm just going to go with the continuous move provider. Next up, we need to learn how to turn. So to do that, we can do a continuous turn provider or a snap turn provider. To add that in, I'm just going to right click here, and I'm going to add an empty object, and I'm going to call it turn. Starting off.
You had your chance, but you blew it. You had me in the palm of your hand and threw it away. Now you say that you think we can do this again. Second chance, okay, do I look stupid? I don't need you here in my life. Please do not text me, I made up my mind. I do not want you here wasting my time. And next time around, I'll be taking my time. Cause I said forever on the very first day.
I'm going to go with the continuous move provider. And then we are just going to drag in the locomotion system here. Oh, my bad. That made the continuous move provider. So I did that before. Yeah, just make sure you don't do that. It's very easy to do. All right, there we go. All right, and then next we need to add in the turn. And I found that if you're moving with the left hand, you want to turn with the right hand and vice versa. If we were moving with our right hand, it makes a little more sense to turn with the left hand. So since I am moving with the left hand, I am going to go ahead and look up turn here, and you want the right hand turn. And so now if we boot up the scene, you'll see that I'm...
Yeah, look, I got a flow for every occasion. I got some goals I'm steadily chasing. I got some foes like Freddie and Jason. Whoa, quit acting like everybody's in love with you. Like there's only one of you, buddy. I promise you, I seen a couple yous, and I ain't talking W's.
To turn to my right and my left. Coming back to the editor, if you thought that was turning a little too slow, you can change the turn speed here, and then...
That's why I'm paying no mind the things that they all gotta say when I'm dropping. I do not know anybody who's winning, who's taking the time to leave negative comments. I'm in control, just show me the ropes and know how to steer. I keep it quiet, I don't hear the laughs.
One word of caution when using the continuous move provider, it has been known to cause motion sickness. So the snap turn provider...
Hearing the beat, but this not a drill. No, this not a yeah. Used to hang around with some kids who had no goals. Didn't ever want to grow old. We stay still, never show growth. Feeling like I'm on a stone road with a rowboat. Had no hope. So nowadays when they see me tell me that I change, I just say I hope so. Took a detour, had to see more. Missed the opportunities, knocking out C4 on these doors. Blowing up and I ain't never knocking. Going up and I ain't never stopping. Growing up, I always knew that I was meant to be something. I'd leave nothing on the table now, no second option. Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony. Yes, you know that I need those. I know I probably sound a little cocky when I'm saying that I
might make your game a little more accessible to others. So I'm going to go ahead and deactivate that, and I'm going to add a snap turn provider. Again,
since 7th grade. In the 6th, they be giving high fives. They can't reach when I levitate. Got foresight from my
we
third
add our
eye. No
locomotion
second place, I already won, and they know it now.
system
Checking
here.
numbers 'cause
You
it
can
gone down. Now wait, hold up, I ain't done with it. Brand new flows, no dust in it. 5'7", might dunk with it. Like what physics? Ball hog and I run with it. No cold feet, just jump in it. I'm
change
all
the
in,
turn
no
amount
bluff
here.
in it. My
This
work curse, no cuss
debounce
in it.
time
My first word
just
was
kind of
come
allows
get
for a
it.
little wait
I'm
time
in
between
control,
each
show me
snap
the
turn,
ropes
so it
and
just
know how
doesn't
to
happen
steer. I
in
keep it
quick
quiet, I don't
succession.
need the
We
likes,
also
I
have
don't need the
a
hate, I don't need the
turnaround
cheers, don't need
one
the
right
smoke,
here,
I don't
and
need
that
the
just
drink,
allows
do
for
what you
180.
do,
So
whatever
if
you
your
feel.
player
Switching
pulled
it up,
all the
I
way
do
back
what I
on
want,
the
they hearing
thumbstick,
the beat,
that would
but it's
allow
not
them
a
to
drill.
do
It's
a
not a
180 turn. And then if we were doing
Gotcha. Yeah.
Heard you got a man, that's too bad.
Yeah, back in the picture like, oh damn, who's that?
Cause I
Like,
got what
I
you
hit 100
need.
like
Hey,
just
keep
like
that
a
shit
couple of
low
months
key.
ago.
Whoa, don't tell all your friends.
Why?
That's
Everybody
I
want
just
a
a couple
piece.
months ago. I thought
Damn,
it was gonna take me like a year to hit another 100 because it took me a year to
Can't
hit
catch this.
100.
I'm smooth,
I thought it was gonna
no
take me a year to
crashing.
hit 200. But y'all
Can't catch
proved
this,
me.
speed it up.
Go, something like gadget. Big check straight to my address. E-class, yes, I live lavish. Talk is cheap except when I'm rapping. Give them all the blueprint, now they tryna do this. My team's too big to shit, me stupid. Now I'm living ruthless with the peaceful Chris. I'm making moves, I'm making excuses. New Porsche, I don't gotta switch lanes. Got wrist, I don't need a restraint. Drop hits, even on a mixtape. Cal Rip, you know I don't ever miss games. Think so full, y'all running on empty. Y'all burn quick, I'm here for longevity. Still pull dimes even when I'm 70. On my grind, you think there was 10 of me? Heard you got a man, that's too bad. Yeah, back in the picture like, oh damn, who's that? Cause I got what you need.
Reminds me of Crash Out.
Low key, don't tell all your friends.
It might be a bit delayed though, because updates are a bit delayed. So, I mean, like literally.
No crashing.
Wait, Dingleberg.
No crashing.
Okay, guys, you guys ready? It's gonna happen very soon.
Songs hard, no skips and no filler. Got a new girl like Schmidt and Nick
So
Miller.
it gives you
Big like BBLs of Rilla. I move heavyweight like Ben Stiller.
Oh,
Nah, I don't wanna meet your parents. I ain't thinking about no marriage. That you wanna move
2 jumps
right
here.
safe upstate till I ain't tryna live with no Karens.
Back to back, but this is not the sequel. Masterpiece, I'm vicious with the easel. Action packed and faster than Vin Diesel. Gasoline, my tank is full of diesel. Whoa, heard your new track and it's last when muted. She love what I say, yeah, my pen can't cute.
Thank you for the dono. Yippee.
Tanvini Baird super chatted $1.99.
Back in the picture like, oh damn, who's that?
www.
Cause I got what you need.
Hey, keep that shit low key.
Whoa, don't tell all your friends.
Why? Everybody want a piece. Whoa,
Damn,
look,
I'm smooth, yeah, no crashing.
vroom vroom, can't catch this.
I'm smooth, no crashing.
Vroom vroom, can't catch this.
Speed it up.
What?
Which came first? Are you on the 3? I'm gonna test you. I'm gonna test you first. Hold up. Player track? Do you know how long it's been? Hey, to that one player tracker, if you're watching this, bro, you made me a promise. Here's my finger painter. No more. Thanks for watching. This headset was great. Recommend it if you want a budget headset. It'll do the job. See you later.
What the J-Mac girly?